20 million teenagers are currently organizing a political opposition bloc named entirely after an insect. In a matter of weeks, the Cockroach Janta Party amassed a following large enough to rival traditional state operations, mobilizing almost entirely through memes and Instagram reels. The trigger was a passing comment. Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud made a remark about chronic internet users being like cockroaches. Instead of taking offense, a massive segment of Indian youth adopt Atrab as an identity. The person who formalized this identity is Abhijeet Dipke. He is a Dalit student who had recently completed his public relations degree at Boston University. He was applying for corporate jobs in the United States when his satirical Instagram page exploded in popularity, prompting him to fly back to India to lead a physical protest. Before his flight to New Delhi even boarded, the digital friction turned into physical risk. Dipke received targeted threats detailing his family's exact location, forcing him to move his parents out of their home into a safe house for weeks. A satirical account created by a student in Boston had successfully provoked the political establishment. The millions of likes and shares were translating into real-world anxiety for those in power, proving that the anger driving the clicks was entirely real. The insect jokes are a thin cover for a generation watching their economic prospects evaporate. The anger driving the Cockroach Janta Party is an acute reaction to the systemic collapse of India's education and employment machinery. This chart tracks the scale of the institutional failure. Over a 10-year period, 89 separate exams have been leaked or compromised. This includes the major gateways to professional life: NEET, CUET, and CBSE. The data points here represent the derailed futures of more than 1 crore students. When you intersect this data with the current job market, the math becomes grim. Youth unemployment has hit a 40-year high. Students are graduating from a compromised testing system into an economy that has no room to absorb them. Families are selling farmland, taking out crushing loans, and investing years of savings into coaching centers. That capital is routinely wiped out overnight by paper leak syndicates, while authorities struggle to hold anyone accountable. The CJP didn't emerge in a void. It grew because the existing political machinery, both government and opposition, stopped speaking the language of 20-year-olds. When the systems meant to protect a student's future fall silent, the students simply start their own conversation. On June 6th, that digital platform became physical. Thousands of students traveled by bus and train from across Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, and Uttarakhand to gather at Delhi's Jantar Mantar. They stood in 40-degree heat, holding books and the national flag. They gathered with one specific demand: the immediate resignation of the Union Education Minister, Dharmendra Pradhan. Prominent activists like Sonam Wangchuk flew in from Ladakh to join the crowd. When fringe groups attempted to hijack the microphones and inject religious slogans into the rally, the students actively shouted them down, keeping the focus strictly on their careers. But the logistics behind the gathering present a glaring anomaly. When Abhijeet Dipke landed at the Delhi airport, police granted him immediate permission to protest. In a city where protest permits often require weeks of bureaucratic clearance, the Cockroach Janta Party received the equivalent of a visa on arrival. Compare that leniency with how the state handles traditional opposition. When student wings like the NSUI attempt to protest the exact same exam leaks, they are routinely met with heavy barricades and detentions. Historically, protesting farmers, teachers, and student activists face violent crackdowns, water cannons, and lathi charges in the capital. The VIP treatment of the Cockroach Janta Party forces a difficult question. The state either suddenly discovered a deep respect for free speech, or they deliberately allowed this specific gathering to take place. One reading of the situation is that the youth simply outmaneuvered the system. They organized so quickly and with such overwhelming numbers that the establishment had no choice but to step back and let them speak. The competing theory is that the government opened a safety valve. With youth anger at explosive levels over paper leaks and joblessness, the administration needed a way to let the pressure bleed off before it triggered riots, similar to recent student uprisings in Bangladesh and Nepal. By authorizing a protest led by a meme page with no formal organizational structure, the state keeps the anger contained. The students get to yell, the media gets a spectacle, and the established political opposition is entirely sidelined from the narrative. If this theory holds up, the state is expertly managing the rebellion. They are giving the youth the illusion of a victory while maintaining total control over the political landscape. the physical results of the June 6th protest are sobering. Dharmendra Pradhan is still the Education Minister.
The government has offered no concessions, and the Cockroach Janta Party currently lacks the ground infrastructure to sustain a prolonged nationwide strike. Measuring this movement solely by resignations ignores the shift in the crowd itself. For the first time in years, thousands of students realized they could stand in the Capitol and demand accountability without the backing of a major political party. They demonstrated that questioning the government isn't a fringe act, it's a collective one. They proved that millions of young voters have zero interest in the traditional Hindu-Muslim political binary. They demanded a system that works, and they did it in the heart of the Capitol without a single act of violence. The term cockroach was deployed to make them feel small, dirty, and easily dismissed. They took that insult and weaponized it, reminding the establishment that cockroaches are famously capable of surviving anything. Whether the protest was a genuine tactical victory or a state-engineered pressure release, the end result is exactly the same. Millions of young citizens are now awake, organized, and watching the system closely, and they are not going anywhere.